Listen to me. If there was a wise man who would ever think of this, they would say in order to be superior to the man, you've got to be the man. For I am the man himself.
Saturday morning. This is the Club with the Man 1993, and yep, I am back here for some more wrestling content. And yes, I know I do have a Raw review to make up. SmackDown was last night. I will be recording both of those reviews at some point today as well. Just trying to get caught up. I just was tired, exhausted for most of this week, so I just more so just prep videos and spend a day when I can recording stuff. So that's how it's gonna be. That's how it's gonna be this weekend. So we're gonna get a lot of stuff out of the way this weekend, hopefully. Video game wise, wrestling content, some more baseball content. I did just post a video about Pirates top prospect Paul Skeens making his Major League debut today against the Chicago Cubs, which I will try to make sure I watch that game for sure. But you're here to talk about that. You're here to talk about wrestling. Last week, before Backlash, we got note that there were some NXT releases recently. I'm not going to talk about all of them. Most of them I don't really know. There's a couple, though, that, I was aware of who they were. So we'll briefly discuss those, of course, as well. Two of them, of course, are probably the biggest names that you see right here that were released. But again, it's more so a thing where it's like, it's not like, Vince McMahon who just released anyone whenever he felt like it because he just, was bored, didn't feel like, using them anymore. To them, it was just like his own set of toys. He's like, I've had this one for a long time and threw it away. Like Braun Strowman, I always say. I still say that Braun Strowman was a guy that Vince McMahon only booked him in the spot he was in whenever he needed him there. Not only when Strowman earned it, but these guys, I can see why. Well, most of the ones that I at least know of, that is. Again, I haven't watched NXT full-time since 2021. I've watched one segment where Johnny Gargano was saying his farewell, and I also watched last year's NXT Stand and Deliver. There's some names, but again, it's just like, I don't have the time, and just nothing really makes me want to watch NXT that badly, if I'm being honest. But there are some people I keep an eye on, of course. But of course, some I do know a little bit about. And that's why we're here to briefly discuss a couple of these names from these NXT releases that just happened last week. So, to read off the list of some of the names that have happened, we have a few people who I have no clue who are. These are probably like people who just haven't really touched that. It wasn't working out. They weren't ready for TV, and it wasn't going to work. So we have a Daryl Mason, Emma Maria, it looks like, Emma Maria Diaz, Ezekiel Balagun, Hayden Pittman, Julian Baldy. I probably butchered these names. I apologize. Kayshawn LaFleur. Kaya Saint, related to Johnny Saint, just kidding. Trey Bearhill, Valentina Feroz, which I think I saw her. Wasn't she on the app, I think, as well? I think, she was. And Vlad Pavienko. I probably butchered most of those names, and I do apologize. Those are names that I really have no clue who they are. There was 3 originally, and then I pulled up the list, and, well, 2 of these names have not been released yet. It's more so of their contract is not going to be renewed when it expires. One of them that I did only realize before I started recording this video that I completely forgot to include in the graphic or even in the thumbnail, which I kind of have one in like the background you kind of see in the black and white. But this one I forgot to include because I did read recently it was announced that he would not be coming back, is Scrypts. Formerly, of course, known as Reggie. He was Carmella's... What was the word described when Carmella repackaged in 2020? I forgot what they call it. He's like a butler. I can't remember what it was. He was with Carmella. Then they randomly put him with Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax. He's had a weird bounce around. I thought he was talented in the ring. Character-wise, I just don't think he ever quite found it. I mean, he was popular. He could talk. I just don't think there was really a spot for him. I know he went to NXT. He repackaged as Scrypts. Apparently it was a nickname for him at one point. And I don't know what happened, really. I don't know. I mean, I saw, the gear and whatnot. It was unique. It was different. But it just seemed like it just didn't work out, to be honest. Sucks, because I did think he was talented at one point. He definitely was very unique, but I guess it didn't work out. So WWE decided that's the first name that they announced. They decided they're not going to be renewing his contract when it expires on June 1st. The second name that you see him faded in the background in black and white on the thumbnail and even here also on this background that I knew of course, but not super well. And I'm surprised he was still here as long as he was, to be honest, was Boa. Boa was released as well last Friday. And I'm not surprised. He was in the Breakout Star Tournament, and then he kind of felt like a jobber after that, if I'm being honest. The most I think he ever did was he was thrown in with Xia Li when she was having that storyline gimmick where, I can't remember for the life of me now, but they were kind of like possessed by some female goddess or something, whatever the storyline was. He was with Xia Li, but then after Xia Li either changed gimmicks 50 times or got called up, he just disappeared. I haven't seen anything about him in a long time. So the fact that he was, and again, I don't ever wish for anybody to lose their jobs, first off, let's put it this way, but the fact that he was still under contract, I was surprised. I'm like, what has he been doing? Or are they just having him just sit at home and just wait out his contract? I don't know. Unless he was doing stuff behind the scenes that didn't work out either, but it just didn't feel like there was really a spot for him, unfortunately. And that happens. But, again, he obviously they saw something in him. He was in the Breakout Star Tournament, the first one, a couple years ago, in 2020, I believe it was. But it just didn't pan out. So he's gone as well. The two biggest names. Well, one was released. The other one, I thought I read that he was also, his contract expires on June 1st. Well, I think Triple H mentioned when he was asked about it in the Backlash press conference, that this other person's contract expires June 1st. They agreed to not renew the contract. But to talk about the first name though, off to our left here, Gable Steveson, which I confirmed how many times it is Gable Steveson, not Gable Stevenson as I thought it was for the longest time. Gable Steveson, Olympic gold medalist, who the WWE had rolled open the red carpet for back in 2018, I think it was, when he first signed with the company. It was that year, and I know there was a year when during the draft, he was drafted to Raw. I can't remember if it was 2019, 2020, but he was drafted. They had the red carpet rolled out for him. Gave him that WrestleMania moment, I think it was WrestleMania 37, I think it was. Because Stephanie was still around. I think it was WrestleMania 37 or 38, one of the two. Either WrestleMania 37, WrestleMania 38. They gave him that moment where they brought him out, and I think he had that exchange with Chad Gable, which hyped up kind of like a match, and then he disappeared. He went to NXT, and I think the only match he had in NXT was against Baron Corbin. Yeah, that match at the Great American Bash last summer, where he was rejected heavily by the NXT audience. And I peeked at that match too, actually. I am planning on doing like a series of worst matches. Not just, I already done one of all time, but a series of worst matches by year. I actually would probably put that match on the list for 2023, unfortunately, because he was just rejected heavily. And it just didn't work out for him. And the fact also that not only were they chanting, "You're not Angle," but they were also chanting, "We won Corbin." And that's another thing too, is I have a turn alert to make because Baron Corbin's back on the main roster, and it looks like while in NXT, he did in fact turn face, which is crazy. But still, the fact that you got the crowd to want the cheer for Baron Corbin over an Olympic gold medalist, that's bad. And again, a sneak peek for my SmackDown review later on. Corbin did look great in the match he had with Carmelo Hayes last night on SmackDown. He obviously did improve, and he did re-earn this call. And I do hope for good things for him. We will talk about him, of course, also in the turn alert as well. I do hope good things for Baron Corbin. But the fact that he, at one point, in my opinion, was one of the cheapest heat magnets in WWE, to have him get cheered over an Olympic gold medalist like Gable Steveson, a guy that the WWE rolled out the red carpet for, is just insane. Now, there was also a report of an incident he had with a college roommate back in 2019 that recently came out. But I guess charges weren't pressed because of a Minnesota law, which I'm not going to get into it deep because I don't like discussing deep stuff like that here. I don't think that had an impact on it as well, but that kind of came out as well this week as well. That was revealed, unless it was known sooner by those who knew Steveson before he wrestled for WWE. But yeah, it's a shame. To me, he's another Cain Velasquez. Someone they kind of brought in as like a celebrity and expected to do great things to the company, and it ends up being a bust. A total bust. Like, some people also think that Steveson just, his heart wasn't in it. He wasn't like, he didn't live up to the hype. And WWE just decided it was time to move on. So he was released last week as well. So that, again, that was a big one. I'm pretty sure Vince, though, wouldn't have released him. Although he did release Cain Velasquez, but he was, basically doing stuff like posting photos with Ronda Rousey or like other things that was supposed to be kept private and hidden. So maybe I understand that. I don't think Steveson was doing that, but Vince McMahon, I feel like Vince would have kept Steveson for even longer. Heck, I think he probably would have made him a world champion. But who knows? But Gable Steveson has been released as well. The one I want to spend a little more time talking about here, though, is the man to my right here, Drew Gulak. Now, Triple H, when asked about it in an interview, which he apparently also shot on some of the sources as well, because, I'm pretty sure a lot of wrestlers do hate these, like, wrestling sources and journalists and whatnot. I mean, hey, that's probably why also CM Punk asked, before he shot on the Elite and whatnot, probably asked that one guy if he was actually a real journalist and whatnot. But Triple H did answer the question at Backlash that Drew Gulak was not released. His contract is expiring as well on June 1st, apparently, and they will not be renewing his contract. Now, Drew Gulak recently came up in the news and I think he's been off TV for a bit, from an apparent incident he had with Ronda Rousey, where I guess he went to shake her hand and accidentally grabbed her drawstring. I do find that hard to believe you can accidentally grab someone's drawstring, because I'm pretty sure if someone's going to shake your hand, they're putting their hand up like at least that's like a little above the stomach. Like Drew Gulak had to have gone out of his way to do something like that, in my opinion. Like whether he did or not, I was in the room. I can't, prove it. But there's also been reports coming out that apparently Drew has been known to be a bully. Apparently he used to say things to talent that felt like that he was like testing them, but it came across as flat out bullying. And also apparently he got in trouble, and they showed a clip from a match he had on NXT Level Up last June, where he would apparently purposely drop people on their heads to prove how tough they really are. Which is all rumors. I don't know if it's true, but it did seem like, based off of some of these accusations and stuff that was revealed, which of course, the Ronda Rousey thing was a few months ago. The stuff with him being a bully and the dropping on the head stuff was just revealed now, which is a little head scratching. Why would you kind of cover something like that up and keep someone unemployed for this long, but yet you finally do something whenever one of your biggest names says something speaks up about that drawstring incident. So the fact that they kind of left an unsafe worker possibly work that long is a little head scratching, but again, is it true or not? We don't know for sure. But they decided not to renew his contract, which is a shame because outside the attitude, I did think Drew Gulak was a good talent. You go back to, he was one of the originals from 205 Live. He always seemed to be able to kind of play that politician gimmick. Even though, I will be real, he was being the main feud I remember during the Vince McMahon era when he ran 205 Live was he was feuding with Mustafa Ali, trying to get him to stop doing high-flying moves, no-fly zone. I don't know if it was just because, they need a character, but again, 205 Live to me was always supposed to be more meant about the wrestling than the storytelling, I felt. So, I feel like someone like that should not have been in the Cruiserweight division because of that. But I felt like he was good at having, a politician type gimmick. With the PowerPoint presentation. He briefly had a crew with him, the Brian Kendrick, and gentleman Jack Gallagher. Didn't they call themselves, the Submission Commission or something like that? And he also had several good matches, remember, with Tony Nese. Especially when he was in the tournament to crown the Cruiserweight champion whenever Triple H took over 205 Live. I remember he had a great match with Tony Nese. He also had a great match, I remember, with Matt Riddle on NXT. Kushida as well. A few others. So he benefited as well from Triple H taking over. I just still felt he was not a guy who was more meant for the wrestling, more meant for the character development, I feel like. So him, I would say, was not meant to be on 205 Live. He was like a Raw, SmackDown, or NXT guy, I felt like. He should have been used more often. He eventually would, though, get drafted to Raw and SmackDown. I know he was one of the guys who got fed the Charlotte Flair because Charlotte beat him up. I forgot when it was, when he was being an interviewer or whatnot, whatever it was, and Charlotte beat the crap out of him. But I think the most he ever got attention on the main roster, though, outside of 205 Live, was in 2020 when Daniel Bryan vouched for him. Yeah, underrated match, Elimination Chamber 2020. Daniel Bryan and Drew Gulak. They had what I thought was a very underrated match. And for a little while, he was teamed with Daniel Bryan. And I liked it. I really liked the direction they went with that. And then it fizzled out. He went back to NXT. And I guess he was part of some stable called the No Quarter Catch Crew, which I believe they have the NXT Heritage Cup currently. So I think it advertises that the person who actually has it is Charlie Dempsey. But I think anyone can actually be a part of it. Yeah, who actually is a part of the No Quarter Catch Crew besides Drew Gulak and Charlie Dempsey? No Quarter Catch Crew. Yeah, who's all in it? Drew Gulak, Charlie Dempsey, Miles Bourne and Damon Kemp. Which, by the way, also, I didn't notice also, Damon Kemp is actually Gable Steveson's younger brother. I didn't know that until the other day. But he put together that crew. Don't know much about them, but then again, these recent incidents came up, and yeah, now he's gone. Talented guy, but again, with those backstage allegations and whatnot, I do kind of agree that they should have moved on from him. I don't know if he'll go anywhere else to wrestle, but if he does, best of luck. Hopefully, if what was said about him was true, hopefully he gets his act back together or whatnot. Because again, he is talented. Again, I feel like, though, again, he could be more so of like a character gimmick, though, more so than an in-ring competitor. Again, especially since he can play like a politician very well, I would say. But yeah, those incidents right there kind of like, doesn't surprise you that they would choose to move on. So he wasn't released. He's just not getting his contract renewed when it expires on June 1st. But yeah, best of luck to all these guys. See what was next for them in their careers. Maybe some will come back someday. Who knows? Whatever. Like especially the ones who were the no names really. Maybe they'll establish themselves somewhere else and they'll come back. We'll have to wait and see. But again, wish all the guys the best in future endeavors. I never wish for anybody to lose their jobs, but sometimes things just don't click or work out. But that's my thoughts on all this. What are your guys' thoughts on these releases? Again, especially Scrypts, Boa, Gable Steveson, and Drew Gulak. Make sure you guys leave thoughts down in the comments section below. Be sure you also guys slap on the like on the video. Subscribe for more content on my channel. Follow me on Twitter as well at the Club of the Man 93. You may also follow me on TikTok and Instagram at the Club of the Man 1993. Again, I should have more content coming at some point today as well. Getting copy of the Raw and SmackDown reviews and other stuff as well coming to the channel. So make sure you guys please stay tuned. And do not forget, guys, in order to be superior to the man, you've got to be the man. And for I am the man himself. And that is not just an opinion, my friends. That is a fact of life. Yeah!